Welcome to electronics tutorial. Let us go into the topic electrical and electronics measuring instruments.
Electrical and electronic measuring instrument. Before going to discussion of these electrical and electronic measuring instrument, first we need to know that the basic definitions of this electrical and electronic measuring instrument, that is what is a measuring instrument, what is a measurement, like this. First, I explain you what is the measuring instrument. The measuring instrument is used from measuring the physical and electrical quantities is known as a measuring instrument. I can write now here. Measuring instruments. The measuring instrument is used from measuring the physical and electrical quantities. Is known as the measuring instruments. Coming to the what is the measurement? The term measurement means comparison between the two quantities of the same input. Measurement means the comparison between two quantities. Comparison between two quantities. Of the same unit. Here the magnitude of the two quantities, one of the quantity is unknown here and another one is a known source. So to find the unknown value, the results of comparison is obtained regarding numerical value. So this is called a measurement. Coming to the types of a measuring instruments. Measuring instruments. The measuring instruments are broadly classified into three categories. See here. First one వచ్చేసి mechanical instruments. Mechanical instruments. Second one electrical instruments. Third one electronic instruments. These electrical instruments are again classified into two categories, namely absolute indirect and second one secondary direct. These secondary direct again classified into two categories. See here, analog instruments and second one digital instruments. These analog instruments are again classified into two categories, namely deflecting instruments and second one null deflection. These deflecting instruments are again classified into three categories, namely indicating instruments, second one integrating instruments, third one recording instruments. See here, first one mechanical instruments. The mechanical instruments are used from the physical quantities. Measure the physical quantities. These instruments are used from measuring the physical quantities. This instrument is suitable for measuring the static and stable conditions because it's only measures the constant objects. That means this instrument is enabled to give the response to the dynamic conditions. So it is called a mechanical instruments. Coming to the electronic instrument, these electronic instruments provides the quick response as compared to these electrical instruments and these mechanical instruments. So this is known as the electric instruments. It is a quick response time. Coming to the electrical instruments, these electrical instruments used from measuring the electrical quantities like current, voltage, power, etc. Here, the best example of electrical instruments is ammeter, voltmeter, wattmeters are example. Here, voltmeter is used to measure the voltage and voltmeter is used to measure the current. So the classification of electrical instruments is depends upon the methods of representing the output readings, again classified into two categories. See here, absolute indirect and secondary direct. Here absolute means accurate, it gives the accurate values, so it is known as a standard instrument. It is gives the values to the measures the quantities regarding the physical quantities. Physical constant means angle of reflection, degree of a meter, here constant. The mathematical calculations requires from knowing the values of physical constant. These absolute instruments are produce the accurate values. Here some formulas are used internally, then calculated, and to get a outputs is a accurate value, so it is known as a standard instruments. But secondary direct is a not standard because it provides the less accurate value, so mainly used in the absolute instruments. These secondary indirects are used, again classified into two categories, analog instruments and digital instruments. Here one more thing, secondary direct, the output this type of device is directly obtained and no mathematical calculations are used here, but absolute indirectly the mathematical calculations and formulas are used here. So this is known as absolute instruments and this is known as a secondary instrument. These secondary instruments are again classified into two categories, analog instruments and digital instruments. Analog instrument, this instrument is whose output varies the continuously is known as an analog instrument. Continuously, that means it represents a sine wave. The output variation is continuously is known as the analog instrument. This analog instrument has the pointer which shows the magnitude of the measurable quantities. These analog device is again classified into two categories. See here, deflecting instruments and null deflection. Digital instruments are output to give the output in the numerical form. That means ones and zeros. Numerical form is nothing but a ones and zeros. The instrument is more accurate as compared to analog instruments. So no human error occurs in this reading. So digital instrument is best than analog instrument. Coming to the deflecting instruments, the instrument which is the value of measuring quantity is determined through the deflection of the pointer here, so is known as a deflection type of measurement. This measurement quantity is defects the moving system in the instrument, which is a fixed of calibration scale here. So the magnitude of measured quantity is a noun. So this is known as a deflecting. Coming to the null deflection, this instrument the zero or null deflection indicating. So this is known as a null type instruments. Here null deflection, only one of the instrument is a known and another one is a unknown quantities to use the null type instruments. This deflection is again classified into three categories. See here, indicating instruments, integrating instruments and recording instruments. Here indicating, the name itself indicating means indicating purpose. The instrument which indicates the magnitude of the measured quantity is known as the indicating instrument. The best example of indicating instruments is voltmeter, ohmmeter, ammeter, etc. Coming to the integrating instruments. Here the instrument which measures the total energy supplied at a particular interval of time is known as an integrating instrument. Here I am taking one example here. Here integrating is nothing but the current value is nothing but a present value is added to the past value to get a output is a integrating value, is known as the integrating value. The best example of this integrating instrument is in the current bill. The current bill is gives the fast values, current values and fast value. So this is an example of the integrating instruments. Coming to the recording instruments, these recording instruments, the circuit conditions at a particular intervals of a time is known as a recording instrument. The best example of recording instrument is ECG. We know the ECG, electrocardiogram. Here it measures the heartbeat conditions. Heartbeat conditions is recorded here, ECG. So it is the best example of recording instrument. This is all about the measuring instruments. Here one more thing, the response time of electronic instrument is very high as compared to the mechanical instruments and electrical instruments. This is all about the measuring instruments.